What if I told you the biggest threat to America's future isn't a foreign enemy, or even climate change, but a number on a government spreadsheet? Right now, the United States owes more money than at any point in its history. Over $34 trillion and counting. That's more than the entire size of the US economy. And here's the scary part. No one really knows how this ends. Could America's debt spiral spark the next financial crisis? Or even break the system entirely? Stay with me, because in this video, we're going to unpack the hidden debt crisis, what it means, how we got here, and why the consequences could be far more explosive than most people realize. Debt itself isn't new. From the very beginning, America has borrowed heavily, from the Revolutionary War to fund railroads, and even to fight the Great Depression. In fact, Alexander Hamilton, the first Treasury Secretary, argued that a national debt, if not excessive, will be a national blessing. And for a while, that seemed true. Borrowing allowed the US to build infrastructure, fight wars, and recover from crises. But here's the twist. Today's debt is no longer just temporary spending for emergencies. It's become a permanent part of how America runs. Think about this. In 2001, the US had a budget surplus. Fast forward to today, and the government borrows about 20 cents of every dollar it spends. Wars, tax cuts, financial bailouts, pandemic relief, it all adds up. And unlike a household, the US government doesn't just pay off its credit card. Instead, it rolls over debt, taking out new loans to pay off the old ones. It's like refinancing your mortgage every year, except your mortgage is now $34 trillion. But wait, you might be thinking, hasn't America always had debt? Why panic now? Here's the catch: interest rates. For decades, borrowing was cheap. After 2008, the Federal Reserve slashed rates close to zero. That meant the government could pile up trillions in debt and barely notice the interest payments. But starting in 2022, the Fed hiked rates to fight inflation. Suddenly, America's interest bill exploded. Today, the US spends over $1 trillion a year just on interest, more than it spends on the military. That's not paying down the debt, that's just the interest. And here's the paradox. The more America borrows, the more investors demand higher interest to keep lending. It's like a credit card trap, except this one involves the entire global economy. Here's where it gets global. The US dollar is the world's reserve currency. Roughly 60% of global reserves are held in dollars. Countries, corporations, and banks worldwide buy US Treasury bonds because they're considered the safest asset on Earth. But what happens if the safest asset starts looking shaky? Imagine this. If investors start worrying that America can't control its debt, they could demand higher returns, or worse, start shifting to alternatives like the euro or Chinese yuan. That would raise US borrowing costs even higher, and suddenly the cycle spins out of control. And don't forget, countries like Japan and China hold trillions in US debt. If they ever lose confidence and dump treasuries, it could trigger a financial earthquake far beyond America's borders. You might think this is just a problem for politicians in Washington. But the truth is, you pay the price. When the government borrows heavily, it competes with households and businesses for credit. Economists call this the crowding out effect. It means higher interest rates for mortgages, student loans, and business investments. And here's the kicker. Future generations inherit this burden. Every dollar of debt is essentially a promise that tomorrow's taxpayers will pick up the bill. Right now, that's about $100,000 per American household. So whether it's your student loan rate, your retirement savings, or your kids' job prospects, the hidden debt crisis is already shaping your life. So could America's debt truly break the system? Here's one scenario. If interest payments keep rising, they could swallow the federal budget, leaving less money for defense, healthcare, or infrastructure. The government could be forced to cut spending drastically, or print money, which risks runaway inflation. Another scenario, political gridlock. Remember the recent debt ceiling standoffs? Imagine investors watching Congress flirt with default over and over. Confidence could collapse overnight. Of course, some argue that because America controls its own currency, it can never run out of money. The Federal Reserve can always print more dollars. But history warns us, printing your way out of debt usually ends badly. Just ask countries like Argentina, or look at Germany in the 1920s. The truth is, America's hidden debt crisis isn't about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about confidence. As long as people believe in the dollar, the system works. But if that belief cracks, the consequences could be seismic. So the real question is, how long can the world keep pretending that $34 trillion in debt is sustainable? If you found this breakdown eye-opening, subscribe to World Economic Hub for more deep dives into the forces shaping our economy. Because the next big crisis might already be hiding in plain sight.